Absolutely.
My role is to talk a little bit about Verchota. I'm not sure you're all familiar with it. And then hopefully as I talk through this, you'll develop an idea of perhaps what online care delivery might need in terms of practice-ready people. So I'd like to explain our platform a bit. For those of you that are unfamiliar with our service, it's a 24/7, 365 online care delivery system, and we are live in 12 states, including California. That's really picking up, and New York as well. The consumer fills out an interview, and it's an interactive interview. It depends. The response to an interview question guides that next question or that next loop of questions. You know, it might be if they're in the cold cough allergy protocol, it might be an asthma loop, or it might be a cough loop. So it's an interactive process. It takes consumers about 7 to 10 minutes to fill out an interview. People tell us that it helps them save 2.5 hours in their week, and I just figured that out. That's 57 years. Or it's 240 productivity years. So we tend to save people a lot of time. Our providers all work remotely. We have a provider that looks out on Whitefish Bay on Lake Michigan, all the way over to Spicer, New London. And everybody works at home. Our technology is standardized, and we've learned from experience that we need to purchase that technology for people and set it up at home for them. And so that has helped us a great deal to standardize that process. Each response in every single interview is actually evaluated by a nurse practitioner. So it's not some magical thing that happens and the nurse practitioner waves her hand over it. Every single response is identified, and we actually cluster information just like how we learned in practice to do. Every consumer that uploads an image, those images get looked at. We now can upload 9 images from consumers, so that helps us in a lot of unique ways as well. And 40% of the time we're making a phone call as well. So we're not a VC system where we can see consumers, but in terms of really knowing what providers need to know, we end up talking to our consumers pretty routinely. I would say nights more so than even like the day shift. Almost every night case gets a call. We treat now over 60 conditions, and our provider queue is starting to look and feel more like an urgent care clinic. I have to say, initially it was boring. It was cold cough allergy, and it was UTIs, and it was pink eyes. But now we're starting to see a really nice mix of cases. And 1 or 2 cases drops in typically every minute. It can be 10 minutes. Or 10 consumers will drop in. We have seen times when 60 consumers will drop into the queue. So it can be very busy. Scheduling is we have a unique process where we use flex scheduling. And when I tell you about our bimodal age distribution, you'll understand that better. It takes, our mean time to treat though is 23.7 minutes a case. But when that case drops into the queue, within 23.7 minutes, it's back to that consumer. If we go over an hour, it's free care. We also guarantee satisfaction. So I think we're the only care delivery system that actually refunds consumers. And about just under 2% of our consumers ask for a refund. Most of the time, it's because we didn't give an antibiotic and they wanted that antibiotic. But it's only been recently, it's been wonderful. I have to follow up on every one of those consumers. And now I hear things like, what do I need to say to get an antibiotic? I didn't get it from you, and I went to urgent care, and I didn't get it from them either. And I just love it. It's evolving. It's so different than it was 4 years ago. So I really think we're making some inroads there. But we try to understand people better. All the messages about listening. We have a question in our interview that is so helpful. What is the most bothersome symptom for you? We leave space and we say, tell us what else. What else did we not ask you? And consumers are always asking us for, give us more space to tell our story. So we're a very different venue, but consumers are no different than your consumers. They want to be able to tell their story. Some good things about Verchota from a provider's perspective: when you close the case, it is done. Our providers end the shift just like regular work schedule people, and Invariably, they leave the shift at 3 or 2 or 3 or 4 because we have staggered shifts. At 3:01, they are gone. And they tell us that's difficult because they don't have time to download and decompress. And those people that have young kids, it's hard to go from work time to mom time. And it happens the minute they leave their office. So there's a different set of issues, of stress issues, that we didn't actually anticipate. So you don't hear us use the word patient. We talk about consumers. We're very, very consumer focused. I've been in healthcare for 30 years and never have I considered the consumer perspective or the consumer frame of reference like we do now. So we pay a lot of attention to that particular, to that focus. Our consumers entrust their care with us, and we need to be confident, and we need to be they need to trust us. We need a relationship that starts very immediately. We work very hard with all of the providers to help make that and create that immediate sense of a relationship, to create that trust, and that's taken time. We run about a 98.4 patient satisfaction rate, so we have come a long ways, and we think we have the key to some of the things, but we haven't cracked everything yet either. You might think about what you do in clinic may or may not be safe in our environment. And so we spend a lot of time with talking about safe practice and quality of care. We have seen 200,000 consumers as of a couple weeks ago, but we've referred over 500,000 out to in care because it's not for everybody. It's not appropriate for everybody. So we spend a lot of time talking about what is safe care. I think one of the most profound things about we've done is that we have engineered evidence into our protocols now. So I think we're an awesome learning environment for providers because everything is connected to the science, to best practice. We have been able to embed messages as it relates to the standard of care. We've added a recommended meds list now by protocol. So you really can't order azithromycin for acute bronchitis in our world. It's not on the list. It's not an opportunity to do that. So I think that's been one of the greatest things. We are an incredibly nimble service in that if there's a practice standard that changes, we can embed that into the protocol, and with a team approach, the team approach that we use, every provider within a day or two is practicing to the science, practicing within that protocol, and I think that's extraordinary. It takes a long time, right, to change behavior, but in our world, we can change that in a shift or 2 shifts. It's pretty amazing. We looked at there's just so many examples, but we looked at Bactrim, and if someone's been on Bactrim for a UTI in the prior 90 days, we shouldn't be using that again. And just to adopt that change, it took, was overnight. The IDSA practice standards with sinusitis, it was so easy to adopt that. And we're not you might think it might seem boring to you to practice in our world where it seems like decisions are made, but we do a lot of consider this and then cite that. And we've just developed a way to link to the science. So if you're in a cold cough allergy interview and you're in a sinusitis, you can go right to the IDSA guidelines. You can just go right to Sanford Guide. You can, we've made it that adaptive. So it's a really awesome opportunity to practice to the science. It's the funnest part for me is to really embed that science and to work with programmers and designers and engineers who have that same passion. So I think that just about provides. I had to write things down that the providers were telling me to remember to tell you. Practice-ready providers, what are they? We started out, and I was advised that the best people that I could hire were those providers that came from Minute Clinics and CVS's and Target. And we found out that the best providers are those that are critical thinkers, those that can listen. They have a passion for education, and they can assimilate and work in an expedient way. They use instant messaging. We have a group instant messaging, and from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., if we peered in on them right now, they're talking about what's the best medication, what generic, what's this. And so even though they only get together once a year in person to see each other, we're doing a Good to Great series right now where they all come in and we're looking at our skin protocols. They only get to see each other once a year, but their relationships that they've established as a core group are pretty phenomenal. We had a summer picnic last year when we were in our fourth year, and my colleague said, you know, those nurse practitioners are rude. They didn't spend time with Kevin Palateo, and they didn't spend time with, but they had not met each other face to face either. So they had that opportunity to do that. But I think it's extraordinary how a group of providers can be so connected to each other and never see each other for their shifts. I thank you.